Hi, Penny.
Hello,
Good to
Charles.
see you. Good. Hi, good afternoon, Henda. Very excited to have you
Hello.
both. Hi, Henda. Very excited to have you both. Let me run through the reminder, and I'll quote unquote formally introduce you both, and then we can get started. So, welcome everyone. This is the second session of our World Congress, our Validation World Congress. Quick reminders: we can earn up to 3 NAB, NCAP, NCTRC, and or NCCDP CUs. Today. To earn these credit, you just need to sit on the 4 sessions. So minimum 1 up to 3, as there are 3 sessions. To get the CUs, please fill out the information through the survey that will be sent to you either at the end of the event in the form of a link in the chat or by email. And please do that by the end of the day on Friday 24th so that we can process the certificate of attendance, again, from 1 up to 3 hours of CUs. Please note that due to the very large number of attendees, certificates will be sent to you via email throughout next week and no later than March 3rd by the end of the day. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to send them at webinars@linksenior.com. But just as a reminder, contact us probably after March 3rd, as again, we have a lot of CUs to process. As a reminder, this session is being recorded and will be made available through our website. And I think that all of us know what Zoom, kind of how it works and all that magic. But as a brief reminder, we can definitely use the chat. If we do this, please make sure to use the everyone selection in the drop down so that the whole audience can see your participation, your contribution. But if you have questions specifically for our panel today, please have them in the Q&A, as it's much easier for us to manage them. So without further ado, very excited to have a second session named Caregivers, Care for Yourself. This is moderated by Penny Cook, the Chief Culture Officer of the Center for Innovation. And Penny, I'll let you introduce our panel and I'll let you take it over from here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Charles. And for those of you who were with us at the beginning of our last break, Vicki, I think your centering exercise at the start of the break really leads us into our next session. And I am so pleased to present our presenter for our next session, Henda Bauer. She's really a great fit for Caregivers, Care for Yourselves. Henda joins us from the Netherlands, where she's been working as a therapist since 1991. She has extensive experience working with people with physical and psychological complaints, and she provides education and training in a number of mindful-based therapeutic modalities: stress reduction, cognitive therapy, self-compassion, and compassionate living. She also provides training for mindfulness trainers, so you can probably see why she was asked to speak with us today. Henda studies psychology, social science, informatics, and philosophy, followed by training as a behavioral therapist and then a psychotherapist. And really what we wanted to give you today are not only some tips and tricks and really some opportunities for yourselves if you consider yourself a caregiver, but I think these are so applicable to all of us. And as Charles said, I'll be moderating this session and especially moderating the chat. So please chat in and put your questions in the questions and answers, and we'll bring those in as well. So Henda, without further ado, welcome.
Thank you, Penny. And thank you, Charles, and thank you, Vicki, Myra, and Naomi for the lovely session just before. I have a mother with Alzheimer's. I certainly learned a lot that I can use when I am with my mother. I would like to share the screen to find my presentation. I'll just do that now. I do hope that you can see this. Can you see this well? Okay.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, my name is Henda Bauer, and I'm a Dutch psychotherapist based in The Hague. The Hague is our government city. And this has already been said, so I'll skip this. What I wanted to talk to you about, and also I wanted to guide you through some exercises, is the subject of self-compassion. Usually when you are a caregiver and you are feeling exhausted, people will tell you to take care of yourselves, sleep well, go for exercise, meet friends, do fun things. And of course, that is very important. But there's another part of self-care that I wanted to address today, which is the way you are attending to yourself, the way you are tuning into yourself, the way you are helping yourself dealing with difficult experiences. And that is the subject of self-compassion. And of course, we can talk about it a lot. But I would prefer for us to have some experiences. And I'd like to dive in right away with the first exercise. So it is a short exercise, but maybe you would like to shift slightly, turn away a little bit from the screen, if that would be helpful for you. Or maybe closing your eyes or dropping your gaze. And sitting in a helpful posture, a comfortable posture. With your feet flat on the floor, if possible. Taking some time to check in with yourself. Maybe you notice there is a muscle in your shoulders or your jaws that is tense. Maybe you can relax it a little bit. And becoming aware of your breathing. And then when you're ready, I'd like you to bring to mind a situation in which a dear friend was going through some difficulty. Maybe they had a work problem or a health issue or something in a relation that wasn't going very well. Maybe they failed at something or just felt that they made a fool of themselves. Reminding yourself of a situation in which a friend went through something like this. Maybe just choosing one, or maybe a few situations will come up. And then becoming aware of how you responded to your friend. What did you do? What did you say? gestures did you make? In what way did you support your friend? And then when you have some clarity on your way of responding, letting go of this situation, once again feeling the breath in your body, and then reminding yourself of a situation in which you yourself were having a hard time because you had a work or a health issue, or maybe something in a relationship didn't go well. Maybe you failed at something or felt you made a fool of yourself. Reminding yourself of a situation like that. Becoming aware of how you responded to yourself. What did you do? What did you say to yourself? What gestures did you make? And then when you feel ready, you can let go of this situation and bring back your attention to maybe to the screen. And if you like, you could say something in the chat about how you would treat a friend and how you would treat yourself. I do see in the chat that there's some audio problem. Are you able to hear me well, Penny?
I am. I think maybe putting your volume and your voice up just a little bit may help for some people.
Okay, I've put it to maximum.
That is,
Better?
yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I hope people could hear a little bit of this. Okay, So the chat is now a mixture of people commenting on the audio situation and some responses on the ways people responded to the other one and to themselves. And this is what I hear very often as common responses when someone we care about is going through a hard time. We listen, we take time, we are present, we hug them or we hold hands, we offer empathy, we normalize what they're going through, we show understanding, we try to soothe the other person, we show that we still love the other person. And then common responses when people are responding to themselves are not tuning in as much, not attending to it or themselves in the same present and patient way, ignoring it or judging yourself. Thoughts like get over it or don't be daft, this happens to everyone. Or wondering, why is this happening? What did I do wrong? Of course, this is a bit of, these are two poles and we can move around. It's more like a dimension. Sometimes we can be kind to ourselves. Sometimes we can be unkind to other persons. But this is a very, very common way of responding. And it turns out that when you ask people about this, that about 78% of people are kinder to the other one and less kind to themselves. So if you recognize this, you're part of a very big group of people. And that is maybe it's an important thing to remember, because often when people tell me that they are feeling upset or ashamed or something, they will say something like, I don't know how to reassure myself. I don't know how to talk to myself. Well, actually, most people know perfectly well how to talk to another person. If you do know how to respond kindly to another person, then you can use that as an inspiration for how to treat yourself. So one way of explaining what self-compassion is would be something like treating yourself like someone you love, or treating yourself the way you would like to be treated by another person that loves you, or treating yourself as if you love yourself, whatever feels best for you. And basically, it's a caring attitude whenever you struggle, experience pain, loneliness, some kind of suffering. Later, I will give you some names of important people, researchers, and people who designed compassion programs. And they did some research, and it shows that self-compassion is related to well-being. People higher in self-compassion have a better are feeling better, are having less anxiety, less depression, less stress-related symptoms. And also self-compassion is an antidote against shame and self-criticism. There's a little mistake there. also, it turns out that self-compassion, higher self-compassion. So although some people have compassion for others, but less for themselves, it turns out that people who are higher in self-compassion for themselves are also higher in compassion for others. So that's something that I feel is very important. It's not as if there's just a limited volume of compassion and we either give it to the other one or to ourselves. There is enough of it to go around. And if you're more compassionate for yourself, you'll probably be more compassionate for other people as well. If we have time at the end of this session, I will try to do an exercise that is exactly about this. The thing is that sometimes and of course you all know this, that in caring for another one, we sometimes can feel drained or upset, exhausted, and we feel that we should be helping, but at the same time we are feeling drained. And then instead of maybe forcing yourself, you could maybe practice some self-compassion, because this might help you feeling better, which then may help you in being able to provide for the other one. And there's another part, and I think something Naomi said or Myra said in the presentation before, how sometimes we can jump in and take over for the other person. While that may not be the right way to help, sometimes in our way of helping, we respond in a sort of automatic way, not necessarily in a wise way. And sometimes we have these strong impulses to do something, and sometimes it's better to wait a little bit before you respond. But that would mean that in the meantime, you would feel this impulse or the unpleasant feeling that you're feeling, which would then drive you into a reaction. And if you want to develop more wisdom and more space between the situation and your response, then you need to be able to navigate the difficult emotions that you're feeling. And this is where I think self-compassion can help us carry our own feelings, wait a little bit, and then respond to the other one. So I noticed that I'm speaking quite quickly. And of course, I'm also Dutch and I have an accent. So I do hope that I'm understandable, and I'll try to slow down a little bit when I go on to the next slide. And Penny, if there's an urgent question in between, you will let me know?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And at the end, there will be some time for questions also. So I would say that especially carers need self-compassion because we encounter suffering and pain. Sometimes when we meet with trauma, we can become traumatized ourselves. Also, there is the risk that we become numb, or we have a flat emotions as a way of maybe protecting ourselves from hurt. And also because care professionals often are better in caring for others than for themselves. Maybe you're not one of them, but chances are that plenty of the people in this audience, belong to this group. So yeah, we need some self-compassion, I think. I said that I would mention some important names. The people I am most thankful for are Chris Germer and Kristin Neff. They wrote several books about self-compassion and compassion. Kristin Neff has been working in Austin, Texas as a professor doing research into compassion and self-compassion. And Chris Germer is a psychotherapist with a long-standing meditation practice. And together they develop beautiful programs. And in the Netherlands, there is a duo of two men who made a program that's already been translated and introduced also into the United States. Frits Koster and Erik van den Brink. It's called Mindfulness-Based Compassionate Living, which is also a beautiful program on improving both compassion and self-compassion and kindness. And all those four people are indebted to Paul Gilbert. Paul Gilbert is one of the first Western psychologists to dive into compassion, and he developed something called compassion-focused therapy, CFT. But he also wrote books about compassion, what it is, and he is very interested in the biological background of compassion, which I feel is also a very important part of it. Because before I explain this, just think about sea turtles. Sea turtles, females, when they are ready, they come onto land and they lay eggs, hundreds of them, and then they turn around and they swim away. They leave the eggs on the beach. At a certain point, the eggs will come out, the little turtles will come out. Big birds will eat plenty of them. Only a few of them will reach the sea, swim away, grow up, and then mate, and then the females will lay eggs again. This is completely different from the way we do it. When our babies would be left alone, they wouldn't have a chance. They wouldn't be able to survive. They need 10, 20 years of attention and care to grow up to a fully, functioning being. It wouldn't work if our biology would be like that of the turtles. And the thing is, we have biological mechanisms which make us need connection. We need connection. We need other people. We need other minds, other bodies, other people to show us things, but also to show us how to live life, how to deal with emotions, all those things. So there are biological mechanisms responsible for making us enjoy contact, such as oxytocin, and just imagine a baby crying. It's not hungry, it's not ill. Then what do? Usually we pick it up. We talk to it in a kind way, or a kind voice, or we sing a little song. We give them some warmth, or we give them some touch. And that is maybe why when a friend is unhappy, we tend to give them a hug or touch their shoulders, because this bodily presence helps us. And I will come back later to this. I want to show you some possibilities of giving yourself some physical support But before that, what is self-compassion? Kristin Neff, Austin, Texas. I mentioned her name just a while ago. She says that compassion consists in three parts, three aspects. She calls it mindfulness, common humanity, and kindness. And mindfulness, that is something like noticing. You can only support someone who is suffering when you notice that they are suffering. If you're too busy with your own things, you won't notice. So that's an important part. Another important part is the aspect of common humanity, which basically is acknowledging that as a human being going through life, we will all meet suffering. We will all meet pain. We will all be lonely. We will all be ill. We will all lose people. And in this suffering, we can be connected. We are not the only ones. Although sometimes when we feel unhappy, we can feel lonely and isolated. When we remember that it's a human experience shared by other people, that may help a little bit, and that's a part of compassion. And of course, kindness. Mindfulness, noticing, common humanity, and kindness are together what constitutes compassion. And to explain a little bit more, important in this mindfulness or this noticing or this attention is that it's the right amount of attention. We should neither be indifferent nor going too deep into this emotion and become overwhelmed. We need to keep our attention in the middle, open, but when we are becoming overwhelmed, we should do something to regulate our emotion, because otherwise we will not be available to the other person or ourselves. So it's about the right amount of attention. It's about, I told you about the common humanity, about realizing that there is a connection in suffering, that we're not isolated beings. And the kindness, which is understanding, which is caring, which is validating, which is not being hard or judgmental. And probably you can see that these are parts of compassion for other persons, but also compassion for yourself. We need to be aware of our moments of suffering. Sometimes we can tend to ignore them, or we can drown in them. We need to find the balance. In suffering, we can make ourselves into someone who deviates from other humans. So we need to remind ourselves that we are not the only ones. And we need to be friendly to ourselves. Well, as I said, I wanted to give you a flavor of how we can give ourselves something in the way of giving ourselves a hug. Sometimes we help another person more by our touch than by our words. And maybe this helps for ourselves also. So what I want to do is offer you some examples of soothing touch, and invite you to do them with me and feel which of these gestures gives you some sense of softening or kindness or connection. And the first one is putting one hand on a cheek. Feeling the kind touch, the temperature. Or maybe two hands on two cheeks. And sometimes it can be helpful to sway a little bit from left to right, back to front. Or we could put one hand on our heart. Noticing the soft touch. Maybe noticing the heart beating or our breath. And you could also put another hand on top of the first hand. You could put a hand on your abdomen, on your belly. Or two hands on your abdomen. Or one hand on your heart and one hand on your abdomen. And maybe it matters whether you put your left or your right hand on your heart, your abdomen. Or you could make a fist of one hand, wrap the other hand around the fist, and put both of your hands on your heart. It's a combination of strength and gentleness. Or you could make circles with your hand on your chest, rubbing it. You could move your hand over your upper arm stroking it, or maybe, I don't know the word, pinching it a little bit. The one arm, or maybe the other one, the other arm, or both of them at the same time. You might want to really hug yourself by putting your arms around yourself. And sometimes it's nice to bend your neck a little bit. Bring your head a little bit lower, the way you would do when you were holding a baby. And maybe also swaying a little bit in a rocking movement, from left to right, from back to front. Or you could bring your fingers together in this way, like wrapping them around themselves, and then putting your hands in your lap. In a slightly less obvious way. Feeling the touch of your fingers, and maybe with the thumb of one hand, caressing the other hand if you like. And there are more possibilities, but these are the most commonly used. And I'm really curious which of these touches you like the most. Someone says, placing my hands on my chest and gently patting it. Hug, hug, hug. Hand on cheek. Yeah, the rocking. Yeah. What is very important in this is that it is personal. So although many people like the hugging, not everyone does. Some people don't like the fist. Some others did. It's very important that you tune in to what is, helpful for you. And it may also be dependent on the situation. I mean, rocking and hugging yourself in a meeting with your director is probably not the best. Then would the hands in each other would maybe be more feasible. So good to read this. The fist was unexpectedly comforting to me, says someone, Lorenzo. Yeah, thank you. I am looking at the clock, and I see that we have 15 minutes left, and I really would like another exercise, which to me is this one, the soothing touch. It's like a first aid thing. You can apply this in any situation, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So please, if you like it, try to practice it, make a habit of it. It does something to our oxytocin, what you call it, the production of oxytocin, which helps us relax. So it's a helpful one. But there's another exercise, another first aid exercise. It's called self-compassion break. And that is the one I would like to do. And I think we will be able to have some questions after that. It's a meditative exercise. So if you wish, turning away from the screen or finding a comfortable position, a position in which your body can relax. The muscles can let go of their tension, if any. Taking a few calming breaths, breathing slightly deeper than usual. And then I would like to ask you to think of something that's going on in your life that is difficult for you. Not your biggest problem, as we are doing this exercise for the first time, but something that's difficult to you in one way or another. Maybe an issue at work or in a relationship, or maybe just some task you are procrastinating about, or a neighbor whose dog is barking too much, whatever. Maybe a small thing, but something that when you think of it, gives you some stress. Taking some time to find the situation and becoming aware of the difficulty. Noticing how you feel when you think of it. Maybe there's some emotion coming up, like irritation or sadness or fear or shame. Or maybe it's more like a bodily stress that you're feeling. Becoming aware of whatever difficult feeling you're having. And while you're allowing it to be there, while you're feeling it, say something to yourself in a kind voice, the way you would with a friend. Something like, "This is a difficult situation." Or maybe, "Oh, honey, I know this is difficult." Or maybe, "You're afraid. You're annoyed." Really acknowledging and validating that this is going on and that this is painful. And then reminding yourself of the fact that as a human being, we all go through difficult times, difficult things in our lives. It's deeply human to feel pain and suffer. Maybe saying something to yourself like, "I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one." this is a part of life. And now I'm going through something difficult. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me, only that I'm going through some difficulty. There are other people who may feel exactly what I'm feeling. And then, if you wish, offering yourself a friendly touch. Your hands on your heart, hugging yourself, hands on your cheek, fist on your chest, whichever of those touches that you prefer. Feeling the kindness flowing through your hands. And maybe think there are some kind words that you could say to yourself. What friendly thing could you say to yourself now? What would you say to a friend going through exactly what you're going through? Can you say the same thing to yourself? Or maybe if there is no inspiration coming, just saying something like, may I be kind to myself. Let me take good care of myself. Let I be friendly. And then letting go of the difficulty. Maybe you can really drop it. Maybe a little sense, a feeling of it will linger within you for a little while. Ending the exercise in a way that feels good to you. Turning back to the screen when you're ready. So this exercise had all the parts in it that I mentioned before, the parts of compassion and self-compassion, the acknowledging the pain, the humanness, and the kindness. And it can be interesting to realize which of these ingredients helped you the most. Maybe all of them together, maybe just one of them. Someone says something very kind. It makes me really smile. Yeah. Someone says it brought some comfort and some tears. Well, good to read this. Yeah. So what I did, I told you a little bit about what compassion and self-compassion is. We thought about how we treat a friend. We did the soothing touch exercise, and we did the self-compassion break. that's all that we can do today. But I just wanted to, once again, let me see where yes. This one I shall have to skip, I'm sorry. But here are once again the names of the people I mentioned. If you want to go on practicing something of self-compassion and compassion, you can check these sources. And the Center for MSc.org is a website that offers plenty of exercises in audio formats that you could practice with if you're interested in it. So you'll get the presentation, so you can find these names later if you want. That's it, as far as I'm concerned, Penny. Back to you.
And I think that you've read some of the comments, and it's been so appreciated. There's 2 questions I'd like to highlight for you, and we have about 5 minutes. The first, Shelley asked, where can we find the study of the biological piece of compassion?
Yes, so then you should, I will write it in the chat. Paul Gilbert is the one you should refer to.
Wonderful. So that's
Yeah.
Paul Gilbert. Yeah. And then Patricia has a question. Are self-compassion exercises like meditation, or do they underline meditation? Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yes. So usually when people practice compassion and self-compassion, they will do mixtures of exercises. So there is some mindfulness in it and some meditation, but there's also a lot of reflective exercises, guided exercises like thinking about what needs are underlying your anger, for example, or how you could work with a self-critic in a kinder way without becoming someone who is only watching Netflix and eating chocolate, So there are some combination of psychological exercises and meditative exercises. Yeah. And there is,
You go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that there is a wonderful book by Chris Germer and Christine Neff with all kinds of exercises. And the Insight Timer, someone says there is an app. This is the Insight Timer. I put it in capitals in the chat. It has a lot of self-compassion exercises and compassion exercises as well. So a wonderful source of information and practices. Yeah.
Wonderful. We have a question, and it's related to the use of self-compassion breaks with a person that you might be helping who's living with dementia. Can you speak to that? Have you found self-compassion exercises to be useful for people who are living with dementia, or could there be a way to advance?
Well, so if you mean for persons with dementia themselves, I think it all depends on the stages of the illness, but I think soothing touch is, very easily accessible to almost anyone. So that would be a good one. And I see no reason why, for example, this self-compassion break could not be helpful for them. I am very much a person interested in working with caregivers. So I'm more focused on that part of it. And I think that the exercise that I wanted to do, but there was no time for that. It's called compassion for yourself and the other, which is an exercise that consists of breathing meditatively and becoming aware of the kindness of the breath, because the breath is a lifeline. It's a caring mechanism, and feeling the pleasantness of the breathing, and then breathing in compassion for yourself, and then breathing out compassion for the other, so that the attention goes inward and outward, and also the friendliness goes in and out, to help you, calibrate or tune into yourself and the other, and maybe sometimes giving a little bit more to the other, sometimes a little bit more to yourself, which is a wonderful practice. But it takes some time to be able to apply it in real life,
Of course. And I would think that Vicky and Naomi may want to chat in at some point, some ideas about using some of the self-compassion work with people living with dementia as well. I just think about the breathing, I think about the motion and the rocking. Sometimes self-soothing behavior. So,
and there is another exercise which I think is also a very pleasant one. It's called Soles of Your Feet, which is basically like a walking meditation. But I mean, it's about feeling your feet on the floor, and you might want to walk on different kinds of, like wood or tiles or how do you call it? Tapestry? No, it's not a word, but carpet, or little stones or grass, as a way of stabilizing when you're emotional. Could also be a very, I need to think a little bit more about this, but yeah, it's grounding.
Yes, exactly. The grounding. And that's what Heidi said. And I think that you can see from the chat that you have made a very impactful difference to people in this hour. And so many people have said that they needed this, that this is the perfect time for them. And I think just in all of our lives and everything that everyone lives through in each day, it's the perfect time for this, and especially the people who have joined us today. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your insight, and your experience, and offering us these exercises as well.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.